1-2, it's the Boba Joe crew. Mark Lennon, Johnny Sorensen, coming straight to you. Talking classic eras, yeah, we setting the scene. Films, games, tunes, toys, you know what I mean? From the old school vibe, feeling so divine. Boba Joe show, drop the beat so low. Heavy bass lines make your speakers blow. Kicking it classic, from head to the toe. Yeah, baby, yeah, watch the Boba Joe show. Mortal Kombat, Predator, Scarface in the flow. Miami Vice vibe, MacGyver on the go. Alien screams, NBA Jam all night. Pro wrestling legend, shining never so bright. Macho Man Randy, Ric Flair. Yeah. Show, drop the beat so low. Heavy bass lines make your speakers blow. Kicking it classic from head to toe. Yeah, baby, yeah, watch the Boba Joe show. Action figures lined up, ready for the fight. Ninja Turtles power shining ever so bright. Transformers roll out, masters of the universe. Classic memories can't be reversed. Yeah, baby. Boba Joe, that's the flow. Boba Joe, Boba Joe.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,
children of all ages, we are here. We have arrived. We are in the Attitude Era. Right slap bang. Right there, 1998 is calling, and we're happily getting on board. Wrestlemania 14, DX rated, whatever the fuck that means.
Yeah, what's that? That means if Mark tries to use one of his Irish deathlocks on me, I'm calling in a guest referee to help me out.
But yes, last week we tackled the very topsy-turvy Wrestlemania 13. It had its moments, but the big moment was, of course, the epic encounter between Steve Austin and Bret Hart, which, you know, helped catapult Steve Austin into superstardom. And now we're kind of seeing the fruits of that labor come to fruition. As Steve, he's going to be main eventing this year, the big show. It's him versus Michaels, and we got Mike Tyson thrown into the mix as the enforcer, the baddest man on the planet. Cold Stone Steve Austin's favorite dude. But yeah, it's a big night for the World Wrestling Federation. We did mention last week that WrestleMania 13, it did not do that well commercially. It was quite a low buy rate that year. It got absolutely destroyed by WCW's STARRCADE buy rate for the same year. They absolutely hammered them. But now the WWF, it's fighting back. You know, Vince, he's kind of gotten his collective shit together, and he's putting together a plan, and he's going to take the battle to WCW. And this is really the event where we see this, you know, the war is beginning to turn. The tide is beginning to shift here.
I think this overall quality of the product, they were forced to improve. I mean, that's not a secret, but they were forced to improve, and they finally got some more interesting storylines and things going. So when it comes to Mania this year, you actually give a shit about what's going to happen at it.
Oh yeah, and they are firing on full cylinders, you know, across the board. Look at that, 19,000 plus packed into that arena there here in Boston.
I can barely move my elbows there. It's very tight.
Yeah, bet it stinks in there with all the BOs. But yeah, it's the era of Austin is going to really kick into high gear tonight with this main event. A lot of the kind of hype around this, a lot of the posters and pictures you see hyping the event, they kind of indicate that we're actually going to see maybe a triple threat match between Austin, Tyson, and Michaels. Like the way the poster is laid out, it's definitely done in such a way as to possibly mislead a casual observer into thinking they could maybe purchase a pay-per-view that they're going to see Mike Tyson actually fight or wrestle on, but that is not the case. Tyson is here purely as an enforcer, and that will be enough though, because he's going to draw the big crowd.
Yeah, and they did have in the lead up to this event, and that they had a fair bit of media with like Tyson and Austin and whatnot, and showing wearing the DX shirt and all that kind of stuff. They did have a lot of stuff leading up to it. The anticipation of it really built up.
It was a big deal. I actually even remember, like from my childhood, they wrote about it in the actual newspapers. Like the actual sports sections covered this event purely because of Tyson being involved and how big a star Tyson was at the time. It was pretty hard to ignore.
Ali's popped up a couple of times, not just in WWF but in other stuff as well. And it was, I think, like, was it Joe Frazier or someone? Was it some bloody NWA thing back in the days? But, you know, there's been the odd boxers and genuine sports people popping up as guests. And
I have a question for you, Johnny. So when you rewatched this event recently, how does the event start? Does it just start straight away with the Battle Royal, or did they play the national anthem first?
Let's see. I was watching. My version, I have a dodgy rip off the network before it went away, the old WWF network. So I believe it had the national anthem, but it's hard to remember because I always fast forward past it. I can don't tell anyone, but I can open it on mute in the background right now and actually find out. We'll see.
No, the reason I ask is I do know on a lot of the modern cuts or releases of this event, they usually just they omit the section of the national anthem because for this event they have the DX band doing the live music for some of the entrances, and they also got the DX band to perform their version of the national anthem, which on the night did not go down well with the crowd at all. They do this real kind of Rage Against the Machine style rendition of the national anthem, and the crowd actually just booed the absolute shit out of them for the whole performance. So on a lot of the subsequent releases, they just cut out the national anthem altogether because I just don't think they wanted the bad vibes associated with the reception that it got. So there's a lot of people who, when watching this event, it's just going to start off like with the Battle Royal kicking off. They're just going to skip over the
I'm looking at a clip now from that used to be on the official network, and it just starts off with the Battle Royal. First, it has a little graphic and some highlights going on about the WrestleManias of the past and all that. Then you see that kind of hallway with some shitty PlayStation-looking graphics. Then it goes straight to the Battle Royal.
There you go, folks. If you're ever watching this and you wonder why it feels like the event starts rather abruptly, it's because they've cut out the the national anthem.
I always fast forward past anyway, like on every version of them. I'm just like fast forward.
Yeah, ironically enough, this is the one show where I actually did enjoy the national anthem because of the raucous reception it was getting from the audience.
Like I love a real aversion to high note sounds. Anyone singing real high, like Mariah Carey sort of note, it literally gives me a fucking headache. I can't watch. I have to either turn it real low or fast forward or mute it.
Lest your eardrums be blown up or burst. But yeah, the show kicks off in a fairly spectacular fashion. We have this gigantic tag team battle royal. It is a battle royal. It's not a Royal Rumble, but you will probably
they're all learn straight away. They just get in there.
Yes.
Hope that
this very picture, this shot that we're looking at now, they often use this to hype Royal Rumbles, even though it's not from a Royal Rumble, but because they like the visual of so many people being in the ring at the same time, they kind of
shoehorn it in the actual Rumble, you get like half the amount because it was getting chucked down.
Exactly. It's like what you think in your mind the Royal Rumble could be, even though it never turns out like that.
I guess they all were before the official Royal Rumble. I guess all the previous mini Rumbles was the old style was just chuck everyone in, and then there was fairly short, and it was over.
But we got a ton of tag teams here, but it's really only about one tag team that matters, and that is the Legion of Doom. So prior to this event, about a month or so prior to the Legion of Doom, they seemed to be teasing on television that they were going to split them up, and they're having issues with each other. Yes, so what's happened here is they've taken Legion of Doom off television briefly, and they've decided to reintroduce them with a new coat of paint for the Attitude Era. So instead of Legion of Doom, we now have LOD 2000. Right. And instead of the traditional kind of Road Warrior style getup, they've kind of given them these fancy pants, almost like football style helmets, and they've given them the beautiful Sunny as she was back then as their manager. And I have to say, me personally, I actually love the whole appearance and look of this. They have great music. They got a great entrance. The crowd are really, really into them.
They didn't let Sunny drive them on the highway or anywhere else, hopefully, afterwards.
They will go on to win this battle royal. This entire battle royal is more or less a vehicle to try and get them over under this new gimmick and look that they've given them, because they're the only people, or they're the only team that we see get a proper entrance. Everybody else is already in the ring when the match starts, but they do a special entrance for Legion of Doom just to kind of showcase, hey, look, we have this new look, we have this new music, we have a new manager with Sunny, and it's all new. And when something's new, you got to put the number 2000 after it to make it feel really new. So they tear through the competition here, and we got tons of teams like the Headbangers are in here, Disciples of Apocalypse, Los Boricuas, the Godwins, the New Midnight Express, Too Much, Nation of Domination is in there. All sorts of teams just thrown in. Godwins are in there, and as with most battle royals, it's whittled down till we get to our final two teams, which are the Legion of Doom and the New Midnight Express, which are Bart Gunn and Bob Holly. They are the New Midnight Express. Not a patch on the old Midnight Express, but that's a story for another time. And yeah, Legion of Doom pretty much decimate them and eliminate them. And we got this really nice kind of celebratory moment with Legion of Doom and Sunny. And, they're just showcasing the new gimmick, which apparently Hawk hated. He hated it so much that he threw away the helmet after this event. I'm pretty sure you don't see him walking out with the helmet ever again. And unfortunately, the entire endeavor would be relatively short-lived. So not long after this, Sunny is actually going to leave the company in a bit of controversy. She's no longer the number one girl. She's kind of been phased out and being replaced by Sable. And she's kind of pushed to the wayside. She also has her own kind of real life issues going on, and supposedly she's getting quite difficult to work with. So Sunny gets moved out, and the Legion of Doom will kind of continue on. They'll add Draws as a member later on in the year, and they'll kind of become a trio before kind of being disbanded not long after that. So this is kind of almost not quite the end of the line for the Legion of Doom, but it's definitely the end of their heyday. It kind of marks the end of them being like a peak top tag team. And as we move into this kind of new Attitude Era, they do get left behind. So as sad as it is still kind of nice to see them have this moment, this kind of WrestleMania moment where they're victorious in the Battle Royal, and for a little time at least.
It's interesting to see right towards the start of it, you see Jim Cornette briefly around the outside of the ring. So he was working on screen here, still being kind of sometimes manager, but also behind the scenes working, pretty much writer or whatever else at the same time.
That's right, yeah. And on screen, of course, he's the manager of the New Midnight Express, which I'm sure he just loved doing. Yeah, they're not exactly Stan Lane and Bobby Eaton, and that's not knocking Bart Gunn and Bob Holly. Like, they're decent wrestlers in their own right, but there's no way they're going to be able to live up to the reputation of the previous Midnight Express.
Nah.
So the gimmick, unfortunately for them, is dead on arrival. It's probably also poor timing to try and launch a tribute to the NWA around the same time that they're trying to push this new Attitude Era idea. So traditional wrestling is kind of not the most in vogue thing at the moment. So yeah, the new Midnight Express will also not be long for this world. Bob Holly is going to end up becoming Hardcore Holly, and that will be his kind of big deal career move. And Bart Gunn's going to end up winning that Brawl for All tournament and eventually being knocked out by Butterbean in the next year's WrestleMania, which we'll cover sometime on this channel. So yeah, the final four of this battle royal, they didn't have very bright futures ahead of them once the dust had settled. Yeah, great visual though with all the teams rumbling away there.
Good strong opening. Good strong opening. Much stronger opening than the previous WrestleMania.
Definitely. Much better than that that dodgy four-way tag we looked at last week.
And they've sorted out those teams / gangs like now. I mean, so Crush must now be in Disciples of Apocalypse instead of being in the bloody Farouk's gang and all that. And so the gangs make more sense. Right. They're all color coded.
Make more sense.
They got the skinhead guys, and you got the kind of Latino / Mexican guys. The things make more sense.
It's interesting as well. We're kind of you can tell we're like transitioning into the new era, because did you notice there's two logos on this show? There's still the old logo, but they've also now introduced their Attitude Scratch logo.
Oh, they're both there.
They're both there because if you look closely at the ring, anytime you see a turnbuckle, it still has the old block logo on it. But anytime they do like a TV spot or like a Chiron, it has the new logo. So they're obviously still kind of trying to manage phasing out the old branding and bringing in the new branding. They're in a bit of a transitional phase.
Yeah, some of my DVDs from the late 90s, they've probably got that as well. They've got both logos, and then anytime you see the F part that is blurred out because of all the business with the worldwide the wildlife one, when they finally settled all their legal business post year 2000, then retroactively started blurring out anytime they say F, or so you think they're swearing on the videos, but they're just saying WWF, not swearing.
It's so annoying. Now, this next match is quite a fun and spectacular match. Very fast paced, very high flying.
Feel to me also like they felt the impact of WCW having the cruiserweight division. It's like, oh, we've got to sort of play catch up here.
100%, 100%. Except
they were never known for their like cruiserweights or Japanese stuff in the mid 90s of WWF. Wasn't something known for.
They missed out on a key word there though. They missed out on the word division, because one thing WWF definitely lacks is they have a great champion in Taka Michinoku, but they've nobody really for him to wrestle.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Case in point, the person he's wrestling tonight, Mr. Aguila, he doesn't even work for the company. They've literally just flown him in from Mexico so he can do this match. Now, they will end up eventually, hiring him full time and giving him a job. He's the guy who's going to go on to become S.A. Rios. You'll probably know him better as S.A. Rios, but back then he's the masked Mr. Aguila, and he has a really nice little fast-paced match here with Taka, and you can kind of tell that the WWF fans are not used to this type of match at all. It's so fast-paced compared to what they're used to.
Tables or ladders or nothing like this till SmackDown era, so you're not seeing the high flying Lucha Libre or Japanese stuff.
Yeah, it was a real eye opener, and for years this match to me was like mind blowing before, because I hadn't really been exposed to the cruiserweights as much at this point yet either. So seeing these guys like doing these like leaping planches and somersaults over the top rope and stuff, I was like, wow, this is crazy fast. Like, it was almost hard to keep up with some of the offense the first time I watched it, because they were moving at like the speed of light. And it's just like high spot, high spot, high spot, you know, big move, big move, big move, you know. But Taka, he's a great wrestler, and he still wrestles to this day. He still works for New Japan. He still puts on good matches, still looks pretty much the same. He's hardly aged in like 20 or 30 years, so more power to that guy. It's interesting seeing how they present him here as well, because they still are presenting him as like a serious athlete, whereas later on, as the years go on, he becomes part of KAI, and it's like kind of like a comedy kind of jobber stable, and things do get kind of pretty racist as well later on when they literally do the kind of Godzilla dub over his promos and stuff, and you know it kind of goes a little bit downhill after this year. But back then, at least Taka, he was presented as a serious athletic high flyer, and I think they did a great job promoting him, and they have a nice little match here. I bet you that this picture we're looking at right now came from the official WWE website, and you know how I know that? I know that because look at the turnbuckles. There's no fucking logo on the turnbuckles because they've censored it. They've censored the logo because they're afraid of the World Wildlife Fund coming after them. So they've just swiped them off the picture here. You know, you ain't going to see an F in this picture. Not if we can help it. And the people
it's interesting to see this on a WrestleMania, whereas over on WCW it did play a fair bit. Like Nitro and that used to play in New Zealand, so it'll be like every week you see this kind of match.
We were a bit more accustomed to the high flying antics.
I remember I had a mate at school, like their favourite was Rey Mysterio, although it was a female friend, so she liked the wrestling, but she was also like, oh, he's hot.
The light heavyweight belt they're actually fighting over. They actually had introduced it the year prior. They did a tournament at the end of 1997, and Taka won the tournament. And like I said, though, they didn't seem to have any plans to really build a division around him. So they'd usually just kind of fly in opponents for him to wrestle. It'd always be kind of like a short-term deal, which is probably why the division never really took off the same way as the cruiserweights did in WCW, because in WCW they had like a whole roster
for keep it going properly. I mean, the same problem with the on again, off again women's belt and women's division in this sort of era. Yeah.
Great shot there. Oh, look, the logos have magically reappeared on the turnbuckles. What do you know?
Yeah, look at that.
Now you see them, now you don't. And once again, it's the old block logo once again. Just to show that they're going through the transitional phase here. Plenty of Austin 316. Yeah, just thinking that, yeah. And a Stone Cold University t-shirt, which is another big one at the time. Signs of the times. Great shot there of the Acai moonsault being performed by Aguila. He had fantastic form here on this night. Love the traditional lucha garb as well. Very Power Rangers villain.
Yeah. Actually, like the guy that was head on WCW wore similar headdresses like Psychosis.
That's right. Yes, yeah, he's got a very Psychosis-inspired ring attire. And like later on in a couple of years, we'll see him as S.A. Rios. He won't be wearing a mask anymore. He'll have his dyed red hair and have a totally different look. But look, he did well enough on this night that he obviously impressed people backstage enough that they were going to hire him, you know, full time later on down the line, and did exactly what he needed to do. He made Taka look good, and then he laid down for him in the end. Taka pins him with the Michinoku driver to successfully defend his title and give the crowd some high flying action while he's at it.
So next up we got the Rocket, Owen Hart versus Triple H, and he's still kind of Helmsley, but he's kind of starting to call him Triple H now, I think.
Yes. The Triple H nickname has started to almost replace Hunter Hearst Helmsley as his main name. Poor Owen Hart. If only he managed to get out of the company with his brother.
Yeah.
And instead, he's here messing around with DX. It's kind of hard not to look at Vince McMahon as just a real piece of shit during this time because Owen Hart did want to leave the company when Brett got screwed. He asked for his release and they did not allow him to leave. But they did say, or supposedly they promised him that he was going to get like a big run, a big main event run. But they lied, of course, because if they were telling the truth, then he wouldn't be having this match in the middle of the card here against...
all they ever did after Brett left is just give him mid-card matches no matter what he did.
Yeah, it's such a waste of talent when like one of your best wrestlers on the roster. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a good match. It's an enjoyable match. It's also our first time seeing my beloved European Championship being defended on a WrestleMania. I am a big fan of that championship. I love the look of the belt, and always nice to see Europe being represented in some way here in the World Wrestling Federation.
How do you win a European belt without ever go to Europe or fighting people from Europe? That's what it says to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot more Americans held that belt than genuine Europeans.
Yeah.
And I think there's probably only like, a handful of European title matches probably only took place in Europe. I'd be surprised if it was more than 10, maybe a little bit more, but not much. But yeah, we got some interesting things going on in this match. So first of all, Owen, he's been feuding with DX pretty much since what happened to his brother Brett. That's like the main catalyst for his reason for disliking him. He is a babyface here still. We see that Sergeant Slaughter is standing at ringside. He's actually going to be handcuffed to China for the duration.
That's actually my favorite part of the match, is when he's handcuffed to China.
Handcuffed to China to make sure that she can't interfere. However, she will get the better of him. She's going to throw powder in his eyes, which will blind him, which will then allow her to interfere on Hunter's behalf. I believe she delivers a low blow to Owen Hart, which then allows Hunter to hit him with his pedigree. And that's all she wrote for poor Owen Hart.
You think how big Slaughter is, and you see her standing next to China. China's not small, and then you see Slaughter, and it's like, holy shit, he's big.
Yeah. And it's crazy, Slaughter, just a few years prior had been, headlining against Hogan, and now he's the commissioner. And in the storyline, Slaughter, he's just had his fill with the X. He doesn't like their childish antics and their rude behavior, so he's trying to
become like the corporate lackey along with the stooges.
Yes, yeah, and he's trying to put a stop to the DX and their antics. And
it's a good role for him because you get to stay around and get paid lots of screen time without getting beat up all the time and taking terrible bumps as you're getting older.
Yeah, and he plays the part well. I actually like Slaughter as a commissioner. He was a pretty good authority figure replacement for Gorilla Monsoon, because we don't really see Gorilla anymore from this point onwards. So yeah, it's nice. It's a nice rule for Slaughter. There's a funny moment at the end of this match where once China is like uncuffed, like he officially unhands her or unhandcuffs her, and she just punches him in the face, which is pretty funny. Like just as soon as she is released, she just knocks him out pretty much. But yeah, this is kind of almost it's not the last time we're going to see Owen Hart. He will still be around for next year's WrestleMania, but of course after that, a few months later, we know what happens. It's going to be a pretty bad incident involving a stunt gone wrong, and he'll be taken from us far too early. And you just can't help but wonder, what would have happened if Vince McMahon had just let him leave the company with his brother? He'd probably still be alive, realistically, because
he should be. And
he never would have taken part in that.
Could have semi-retired, maybe might have come back on SmackDown or something, and who knows?
Who knows? Alas, we will never know.
Massive talent, and they just wasted him this time.
Here we see Triple H. He's continuing his slow burn rise up the card. He is now the European champion, or I should say he's retained as European champion, because I think he already was the champ going into this match. And we'll talk about it a little later after we talk about the main event, but things are about to change big time for Triple H. He's about to embark on a pretty big push that's going to culminate in him becoming one of the top guys in the promotion, and it's all going to begin the night after this WrestleMania, but we will get there after we discuss the main event. But yeah, the two guys, they had a good match on the night, as you would expect from two kind of talented workers. I think Owen brought out the best in Triple H, gave him a good, energetic back and forth match with some shenanigans happening to keep things spicy with China and Sergeant Slaughter, but they wrestled well, and we got a nice little match here between the two of them on the night.
And so far, big improvement over last year, other than is just the order of the matches makes way more sense.
Got a big one here now. We're going to see another star being born here tonight in the form of Sable. You know, lots of guys getting the breakout on this show.
I didn't like Sable then or now, and I never have. And after reading Mark Mero's book, who obviously was married to her for a brief period of time in real life, I like it even less now after reading his book. And he was nice to her in the book. He said all the nice things about her. I'm like, I really can't stand her as a person. But actually, this match is pretty entertaining. Largely in part because Luna Vachon is carrying her through the match, and in Mark Mero's book, he gets into that quite a bit. That like how much Luna was carrying her, making her look good in this match, but then out of the ring and afterwards wouldn't give them credit for it, which that's really shitty. If you're I'm not saying they got no talent, but as far as a wrestler, she's not a fucking wrestler. Whereas Luna Vachon's got a history of her own experience and her father, carrying the less experienced person, making them look good. But then to like treat them like shit afterwards when they've made you look good, when it's like that's wrong.
So bad. It's so bad. And apparently Luna was like threatened before the match, whereas if she was too rough with Sable, she was going to be fired. So if she pretty much even broke a fingernail on Sable. And it's sad hearing the stories about how after the match everybody was just fawning over Sable and you did a great job and you're so good. Even though it was Luna who carried her, it was Luna who made her look the way as good as she looked on that night. So it's like it's so sad, and it's like everybody kind of around Sable is almost having a bad time because Luna's kind of going through it in real life. We know her marriage to Mark Mero is going to break down not long after this. You've got Goldust, who's also in this match, who's also going through some, troubled times. She didn't even particularly
want to be a wrestler. She basically wanted to use it as a springboard to be another failed actress in Hollywood. That was her actual goal, was to be an actress, not to be a wrestler.
And I think anybody who's ever heard Sable speak would know that is a pipe dream that she would ever become.
It's not realistic. It kind of it's kind of the beginning of the modern women's wrestling thing, as far as instead of going for actual wrestlers or people have some kind of background, sports, whatever, we're just going to hire models and then train them to be wrestlers. That became sort of the formula.
Yeah, she was like the blueprint for that almost.
Yeah. I will say the main difference is that now when people come into it, they do have a hell of a lot of skill, and probably a lot of the women's roster that's on Raw now is better than a lot of the men's roster. Physically, they're talented and do all this stuff. But they also are extremely good looking, but that's just like part of the whole package. It's not the defining thing anymore. It's like they also are well-conditioned athletes and blah, blah, blah.
And, like we mentioned, there's a lot of talent in the match that's going to help carry her and make this match really entertaining and really enjoyable mixed tag. Like, Goldust, Dustin Rhodes, great worker. Mark Mero was a very talented worker as well. And then, of course, we've got Luna in there as well, who's also a very talented female worker who has that pedigree and experience. So they all work really hard to make Sable a star here and make her look like $1 million, essentially. And by the time the dust is settled, like when Sable hits that power bomb, or the Sable bomb, as it will come to be known, like the crowd go apeshit. They go absolutely crazy for her. So they've really done a massive job in making her into a star. And it's no surprise that Sonny and Sable did not get along. Sonny just hated Sable. She thought she had no talent. She was kind of right about that.
Yep.
And you kind of feel a little bit sorry for Sonny. Like, I know Sonny went on to do some bad things.
I'm not really a fan of Sonny either, but I like Missy Hyatt better. But Sonny has earned her fucking dues and been around.
Yeah, at least Sonny knows how to work and kind of knows where, like, you know, she knows the business. Whereas Sable, it feels like she's just getting by on her looks. Yeah, exactly. And, you know,
and Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon in there. There's no way any of this would happen.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And, you know, about just over a year after this, Sable is going to end up leaving the company under dubious circumstances. She's going to sue Vince McMahon and some other people for sexual harassment.
Yeah, but then come back again. Like, what?
And then come back again. And she'll not only come back again, she'll come back in the role of Vince McMahon's on-screen mistress.
Yeah, you know, it's like, what? What? Okay, the one, to her credit, I don't blame her for suing for sexual harassment, because factually, virtually everyone's getting fucking sexually harassed in this company at this point in time. So I think that was actually a good thing. I guess the thing for her being seemingly a bit two-faced, though, was then coming back again just after that. And, like, what about all the other people who are getting harassed who aren't wrestlers, who are people who just work in the fucking office are getting harassed? What about them? They're still working there. They didn't leave.
Exactly. I'll take this moment as well to because we won't really probably get to talk about him too much more in the years going forward. I like to give a little bit of praise to Mark Mero. He's someone who's often kind of overlooked. Because when people remember back to this time, they only really remember Sable and they tend to forget about Mark Mero.
Johnny B. Bad.
Mark Mero, Johnny B. Bad, he was a good worker. It's an awful shame that they gave him that crappy wild man Mark Mero gimmick when he came in first. Because if they'd given him that boxing gimmick from the start, I think the sky would have been the limit for him, because it really suits him. And of course, the fact that he was a real cool...
Reading his book,
really good.
Athlete.
And he probably mentioned it in the book as well. He was like a legit, like, Golden Gloves boxer.
Yes, he was. But he's one of those guys, like, you know, a lot of guys in America come out of, like, football and all that sort of shit. They go into wrestling, but when they're younger, like, say between ages 10 and 20, they ran track, they did shot put, they did discus, they just happened to be really good at the football, really good at the boxing, but they did fucking everything. Like, Mark Mero is one of those kind of guys, an all-rounder, just great athlete.
He was kind of unlucky then. Around this time, he started racking up a lot of injuries. And it was unfortunate just because it just felt just at the time he was getting over as a dastardly heel was at the same time his body was starting to break down. And of course, there's going to be trouble. Him and Sable's marriage is going to get a bit shaky as the months and years roll on. And there will be the eventual breakup and split. And of course, we all know now Sable is the current wife of Brock Lesnar, you know, so she she moved up in income brackets as well, you know, once she left for a mark there. But on this night, at least everything was hunky dory. A star was born. The crowd went wild, but it was all off the hard work of Mark Mero, Dustin Rhodes,
who went on to better things, like, and outside of wrestling, and cleaned up. And, like, for people that became hardcore drug addicts and nearly died multiple fucking times, he did that before he got into wrestling. And then no doubt there was sort of some during, but he got really cleaned up and stayed off drugs and, you know, really dedicated himself to being like Christian, all that sort of thing, and helping out kids, and, you know, became a really excellent person and stayed away from wrestling and cleaned his life up.
And even right before he kind of threw in the towel completely on wrestling, he actually, believe it or not, did make a short comeback as Johnny B. Bad in TNA. He had a brief run in TNA as Johnny B. Bad. So maybe one of these days we might actually get to see a little bit of the latter end of his career if we ever cover his TNA run. But yeah, on the night,
his real life story is like fucking Scarface the movie, but it's freaking it was violent. But his, like, he was full on drug dealer, and his brother and all this stuff went to prison, and it's crazy, like crazy reading his book. Just
it is crazy, and it's especially crazier when you see like in WCW he played such a like innocent kind of child-friendly character.
Yeah,
but
and
then
then
to kind
the
of
real
know
life
what
Little
is
Richard
real
got
life.
to actually see a clip of that and liked it on
Yeah,
TV. It's like, oh, it's like me, but with muscles.
Yeah, he quite the career, Mark Mero.
And he got, I
just
think he said in the book, he did actually get to meet him in person one time, and was told in person that Little Richard actually did like the gimmick. He liked that it was, you know.
That's cool. That's cool. I'm glad he got the okay from the big man, or the little man, I should say, in this case.
Oh yeah. So next up, we've got some Nation of Domination and the Rock coming out to the ring. And I forgot the other Nation guy, of course, the guy that becomes the Godfather, who used to be Papa Shango and all that.
Yes.
What's he called? He's called yeah, Mustafa. That's
Kama.
it. Yeah.
Mustafa.
So they've kind of evened out the membership, but of course the Rock's going to leave them not in a while.
Yeah, we talk about a night and day difference between the Rock we're looking at now and the Rock we're looking at last week.
Yes, and we get a really cool pre-tape promo where it's like a fake interview during this WrestleMania where he says a lot of his cool witticisms and making fun of people and telling homeless people to stay off his lawn and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, fun fact, the lady who's interviewing him for that promo is a woman by the name of Jennifer Flowers, whose claim to fame was that she was the former mistress of Bill Clinton. So if any of you are wondering, if you're wondering who this woman is and why is she a celebrity, that's the reason. She had an affair with Bill Clinton before he became president. This was when he was still a governor. So there you go. The WWF hate the Clintons famously. So getting somebody in to dish a bit of dirt in them, and I'm sure it was right up their alley.
Also having Mike Tyson as well, because it's like, oh, we're going to have like the bad people or the bad. It's the no news is bad news sort of thing as far as publicity for the event and all that.
But I love seeing The Rock here, man. He's really blossomed into the performer that we know and love. And yeah, he actually I'm pretty sure in that interview he does in the pre-tape, it's the first time he uses the catchphrase, if you smell what The Rock is cooking, or if you smell what I'm cooking.
Yeah,
which would of course go on to be that would be his big catchphrase.
He has the fancy shirt, the sunglasses, his hair's all like, you know, the nice hairstyle.
And you know, when we saw Ken Shamrock last year, he was the referee, he was the special enforcer in his own little match, but now he's a fully fledged member of the roster, and he is over like Rover with these fans. They absolutely love Ken Shamrock, and as JR says on commentary, maybe the luck of the Irish will be with Shamrock tonight here in Boston. You know,
it's funny that he's came over from, you know, he'd done UFC, and he was known in this time for that, but UFC was fairly garbage at this time before it got all basically went bankrupt and got bought out by Dana White and taken over and relaunched as a proper sport, and not just a bunch of wild people doing crazy shit like Tank Abbott and that. But he also had been a pro wrestler in several years earlier.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He was not totally
he wasn't
new to this pro wrestling game. And he even he did a bit of pro wrestling in the States. He even did a bit of pro wrestling in Japan as well. Wrestled Vader and guys like that. So
even
he's
did
not
some of those. When I was reading that other book last year that got onto the whole history of pro wrestling in America and Japan, and it had they had some of those like events over there where it was in between wrestling and kickboxing, and some of them were kind of a work and some of them were kind of a shoot as far as what was going to happen in the match. He was in some of those as well.
That's right. That's right. And I have to say I was a big fan of Ken Shamrock during his WWF run.
He can legitimately kick your ass, though. He's very strong and very skilled.
And while I'm sure he maybe he has a hand, but he's got the physique of like a Greek god as well. When you see him, especially when he tenses up and you see his 8-pack on full display.
Yeah,
I'm sure he had some.
Like he already had like strong muscles from martial arts background, but he must have, when he got more into this, he must have bulked up a bit more for the pro wrestling look, I guess.
Oh, 100%.
Because he wouldn't have been that heavy when you're normally just doing martial arts.
I'd say he might have even had maybe possibly some pharmaceutical assistance, as everybody did at the time. Rock and Shamrock though always had really good chemistry together in the ring. I thought they just flowed well.
You can see
together.
The Rock's skin. He hasn't got all these tattoos yet. You can actually see his skin.
Yeah, it's wild seeing him look so kind of fresh faced and
if you look at him now, he's got plenty of muscles, but like you can see that Shamrock is clearly, as I was saying, he's much more defined. He's much more like fucking Bruce Lee Into the Dragon, sort of ripped, as well as being big and wrestler puffy. Rock looks like still kind of footballer physique, but 20 years later we see him looking like Jesus Christ, like he looks like just a walking wall of muscles and been on a lot of chemicals. But obviously he's done 20 years of working out, where we see him come back in recent years on that.
I remember watching this match for the first time and getting so angry at the finish, like feeling really just because Shamrock kind of technically wins the match, but he refuses to let go of the ankle lock after the bell rings. So the referee reverses the decision and instead awards the match to The Rock, which then means that Rock retains the title. So they kind of do a bit of a bait and switch, because the live crowd, they see the match end, they think Shamrock's going to be the champion, but then like a minute later, the referee does the thing and they make the announcement that no, Rock is still the champ. And the crowd are just like, boo, boo. And then, of course, Shamrock, he does the famous Shamrock snap, where he starts like killing the referees. All these referees are trying to calm him down.
Yeah, they see the extra ones.
Suplexing them.
Slams them everywhere.
Yeah, sending in loads of guys. They're just getting killed left, right, and center. They try to push Rock on a stretcher, but Shamrock just runs down the aisle. And, like,
I love that.
They
make out like it's still that air of like, well, if he's really hurt, they should not muck around and actually help him. But they carry him out on the stretch, and it's okay. He's conscious, but you know, it's like, oh, his leg hurts. It's not like it's a head injury. So okay, we're carrying him out. But Shamrock sprints all the way down. He's just about out of the ring and pulls him off and just beat them all over again. Right, and smash them into the props and all the stuff on the sides.
And this Shamrock as this kind of madman who will snap character really got over that year. The crowd would just go wild when he'd like beat up referees and beat up officials at ringside.
And when he sees them, like when he like grabs them or does like a kind of bear hug scoop slam, they go up, man. They go above his head, like almost like he's gonna like suplex them or something. They really like float up in there and come down again. He's so strong. It's like he's just kind of half throwing them there straight up in the air,
tossing them around. They're rag dolls practically.
Yeah, we wouldn't see that until Kurt Angle again, or Kurt Angle or Brock Lesnar throwing guys around like that.
And that's one thing that's probably a sad thing for me, is that we never got to see Ken Shamrock versus Kurt Angle or Ken Shamrock versus Brock Lesnar in a wrestling match. I would have loved to have seen those matches.
His brother
was ahead of his time.
Frank Shamrock was also an MMA guy.
That's right. That's right.
And he used to have a magazine.
He does.
Black Belt magazine with the article and interview with him.
Of course, Rock, he's a despicable heel at the moment, but as the year will roll on, he's going to become more and more beloved, because the crowd just really kind of he just kind of grows on the crowd. All his insults and all his jabs actually kind of get over really well with the audience, to the point where they end up kind of turning him babyface.
Yeah, but he's consistently funny, and then like when he has his famous fights with like Mankind and Stone Cold, is like, oh, you piece of trash, you redneck, and or Mankind is just like, you're gutter trash, you know.
He's just so likable, and like there's times when he'll be standing in the middle of the ring and he'll be like, everybody in this arena is just no good trailer park trash, and you'll actually see these people like going,
yeah,
we totally are.
Like, you know it. So yeah, I love the promos and stuff and that. And so the next match we get I forget the rules. It's like a dumpster match, but you can only win by putting both the opponents in the dumpster. It's a tag match with Mankind, what's his name, Terry Funk
versus the New Age Outlaws.
Yes.
Of Billy Gunn and the Road Dogg.
Do you know what's the story when they come out? They call him Chainsaw Charlie. They still refer to him as Funk in the match. But why does he have this other sub name of Chainsaw Charlie? What's that about?
So a few months prior, Terry Funk re-debuted in the World Wrestling Federation, and as the story goes, apparently
they even mentioned that he had been on WrestleMania years ago.
He so as far as I know, Terry Funk himself actually came up with the name Chainsaw Charlie, and the reason he said he wanted the name Chainsaw Charlie was because he liked the idea. When he looked at Mick Foley, he liked the way that people knew him as multiple characters.
Right.
And he thought that he would probably try his hand at doing something similar. So even though people would know he was Terry Funk, when he was wrestling as this Chainsaw Charlie persona that was supposed to be this like extra wild, extra crazy version of himself.
Resident Evil 4 that cuts your head off at the start.
Yes. Unfortunately, though, the commentary team were a bit kind of slow on the uptake because they constantly keep calling him Terry Funk and Chainsaw Charlie. They keep mixing up the names, so it doesn't really end up sticking. Later in the year,
I had was actually this exact one of this outfit. And it comes with two heads where he's got the stocking over the head. Fortunately, it comes with the regular head, so it can just be Terry Funk because the other head sucks.
Yeah. The stocking over the head would be good if you wanted to like have like a burglar figure or something like that. Generic guy who's going to break into your house and terrorize you with a stocking over his head.
I have to say, the first time I've ever seen Terry Funk in anything, because I just remember the other day that this Mania is actually the first Mania I ever saw back in the 90s. It would have been like a video rental or something.
This on the night, I have to say, was probably my favorite match of the night, this dumpster match.
It's so much fun.
I think it helps if you look at the stipulation as, basically look at it as a tag team casket match. So in a casket match, you have to put your opponent in the casket and close the lid.
Yes.
In this situation, you put both members in the dumpster and have to close the lid. That's how the match is supposed to end. But it's a great way to have a tornado tag hardcore match, which is what the two teams essentially have. They batter each other with every weapon they can find lying around the place. They even managed to introduce a ladder into the match at one point just to take things up a notch. This is right on the precipice. The Outlaws, they have not yet become members of DX, but that is going to happen literally the night after this show. They're going to become members, and we'll talk about that a little bit more after we talk about the main event. But one thing you can say about the New Age Outlaws, they got over by themselves. They just knew how to do it. They knew how to interact with the crowd. Road Dogg is a goddamn dynamo on the mic. Every time he comes out, he does the D-O-double-G. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, D-Generation X proudly brings to you, it's WWF Tag Team Champions of the World, the Road Dogg Jesse James, the badass Billy Gunn, the New Age Outlaws. And like, that was so fucking over.
And the crowd are like so
years straight.
They just go along reciting it all with them.
And like the Outlaws, they were very pop culture savvy. They'd come out with their South Park T-shirts and their various kind of contemporary band T-shirts, and they really kind of spoke to the youth of the time.
Definitely, and, they seem like dudes you would want to like hang out with at the pub. It's like,
oh, definitely, they were so cool. Like, and I loved Road Dogg. Like, I always wanted to have like the fucking Road Dogg hairstyle and shit. Like, I just
bye Jeff Jarrett and the roadie years has moved on.
Yes, we have. We should probably actually mention briefly, we did see Jeff Jarrett briefly on the show. He walked Jennifer Flowers to the ring for the last match. He just kind of accompanied her to the ring. So yes, the former roadie is no more. He is now the Road Dogg. Rockabilly is no more. He is now badass Billy Gunn. He's not a smoking gun anymore. And yeah, the four guys just absolutely batter each other in this match. There's some really like stiff chair shots to the head and all that kind of almost like an old like Memphis wrestling style brawl where it's just four guys just rolling around and punching the head of each other. In my personal opinion as well, we've actually two of the best punchers in wrestling in the same match here, that being Terry Funk and Road Dogg. Both of them know how to throw a punch that looks like it really just connects. Probably because they are connecting. They don't know how to fucking work it, so they just hit each other. But this is a match that has a very peculiar kind of finish. So on the night that this happens, we are led to believe that Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie are the new tag team champions. However, there is a very important note, or something of note here that happens is they do not put the Outlaws in the correct dumpster. The dumpster that you have to put your opponents
like
in.
Like the car park is another dumpster.
Yeah, the match, they end up putting them in a dumpster that's, it's backstage, like out near the parking lot, and they kind of trap them in it using like a forklift. Very inventive.
That's the most dangerous part of the match, because it's a real forklift, and he's just like driving that haphazardly around doing the things you shouldn't do with a forklift.
So tomorrow night, or the night after on Raw, they will make an announcement saying because the Outlaws were placed in the wrong dumpster, the result of the match is nullified, and therefore the Outlaws are still the tag team champions. But on the night, the crowd does not know that. The crowd just assumed that the match is over and that Cactus and Chainsaw are the new champs, but that will be robbed from them. They will be stripped of the belts on Monday Night Raw. So on the night, the crowd. So that's kind of twice now we've seen two like almost phantom title switches. In the last match with Rock and Shamrock, they did a switcheroo and gave the belt back to the Rock. And now they end up doing the same thing and giving the belts back to the Outlaws the night after this. So they were very fond of these.
Terry dumps them in the dumpster with the pellet, which is actually like I used to drive forklifts and it took like a bundle of rubbish and get it in, but he's tipping a person in there, and then when he puts it down on top so they can't get out, that's just hilarious. And he's just like ranting and raving when he's doing it like a lunatic.
Is that the Tasmanian devil that's tattooed onto Road Dogg's arm? I think it is.
Yeah, it looks like it. I've never seen it up close.
I think it might be. I don't know. I think I've seen a clearer picture of it where it looks like Taz from the Tasmania. Yeah, Cactus is Cactus is brilliant in this match as well. We should mention it's actually great seeing Mick Foley doing the Cactus Jack gimmick as opposed to the Mankind gimmick, which we've seen him with up until now. He's resurrected the spirit of Cactus Jack, and I love Cactus Jack as a character. I have to say, just love the whole get-up, love that kind of wanted dead or alive T-shirt and the flannel shirt and the leopard skin or the crocodile skin boots. Like I just love the whole look and persona of Cactus Jack. He's just a real
he's a great character. Like I saw highlights of Raw and whatever back in this era and never heard of Cactus Jack 2 years later, but now getting to watch other stuff, he's my favorite of the characters he does.
Should be noted as well that although the Outlaws are not yet officially part of DX, they've kind of been associates of DX leading up till right up until this moment. They actually even show in the highlight package for this match that Shawn Michaels and Triple H actually helped Road Dogg and Billy Gunn jump Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie and like throw them off the stage in a dumpster, which set up this match. So there is definitely some seeds being planted that the New Age Outlaws are going to eventually end up joining DX proper. Yeah. And that will all come to fruition, of course, very shortly after the show. Hey, it's Pete Rose. Pete Rose making his debut here.
Like, I had no idea who this guy is, other than they say he used to play baseball. I just know him as the guy that started getting beaten up every year by Kane.
Yes. So he used to play baseball. He is a disgraced former baseball player. From what I believe, the reason, and this goes into, once again, you mentioned about them, they're using Tyson, they're using Jennifer Flowers, they're using controversial figures, because the reason
people you'll see on the Jerry Springer show.
Yes, yeah. So I'll tell you what happened with Pete Rose. If you don't know, he was caught, I think, betting on his own matches. I think he was gambling on his own games. I think that's what ended up getting him kicked out of like their baseball league. And so, of course, he's exactly the type of guy that Vince McMahon would like to do business with and want on his show.
It works well because it's like, oh, there's a special guest, but then the guy who's one of the biggest villain heels in the company is going to come out and beat him up, and normally people be booing, but everyone loves it because the guy getting beat up is a bit of a crook.
He's a bit of a crook, and he's not very kind to the Boston fans. He kind of heels on them a bit and gives them a bit of guff. So yeah, they actually are delighted when Kane comes out and does him in. How cool is Kane at this point as well? How much of a badass is he? It's Michael Myers dressed in red and black.
Yeah.
And he made his debut a few months beforehand during the first ever Hell in a Cell. He appeared.
Yeah, and had that cape briefly.
Yeah, he tore the door off the cell and made his presence known. Of course, this is a great era for Undertaker as well. He's really come into the 90s now with his
this
kind of
entrance
updated
is so
look.
over the top, but in a good way, because it's not all pyrotechnics. It's people standing around with actual flames and shit, and it's more like watching like a play or something rather than just having laser beams shooting your fucking eyes like they do on the shows now.
I like the way that the guys look like they could actually be they look like normal people who are in a cult. They don't look like trained like stunt people or something. They look like this is what would happen if your cult leader told you to come out and do like a ceremonial entrance for him. And this is such a big time match in the set. Like the build up to this match is crazy because they just up the ante when it comes to like showcasing the mystical powers of the Undertaker and Kane.
Big highlights.
Like Kane is able to Kane can click his fingers and lightning will come out of his hands and set people on fire and stuff. They show that bit where he sets fire to like a cameraman and the guy's like running around on fire in the ring, and he sets fire to a casket while the Undertaker's still inside, but then the Undertaker's body is mysteriously disappeared.
And in the storyline, this is meant to be one of the various like Undertaker's meant to be like the dead man. It's like, but it's like he's died and been resurrected, and there's kind of a different character, but still the Undertaker. It's like a different version of the Undertaker.
Yeah, he has evolved now to something more than just what he was, and of course his once dependable manager Paul Bearer has betrayed him, of course, as well, and he's now siding with his brother Kane. So yeah, it's all on the line here. Brother versus brother, or should I say fake brother versus fake brother, because they are in fact not related.
Fake Diesel versus Undertaker.
Yeah, and isn't that crazy though, man? What a turnaround in a career it was for Kane, because he went from
Isaac Yankem to fake Diesel to Kane. It's like, holy crap, it's like so different.
Talk about winning the lotto, like in terms of gimmicks. Like he got the two shitty ones, and then he just on the third time it was a charm, and then he just ended up making a whole career out of it.
I don't know. You watch those docos and all that, and I mean there is one on Kane, used to be on the network and that, and they show you those comic book illustrations and art and stuff for the costume, but they clearly had better imagination and better writing going on when they got to this. That's the difference to me. Other than the costume, is that he was always a talented wrestler or whatever, but now they've got good writing, good ideas to really make it work.
And apparently, like, the thought or the general consensus backstage was this would probably be like another kind of one and done program with the Undertaker. Kane, he was going to be like another Giant Gonzalez, another King Kong Bundy. He'd be a big guy. The Undertaker would beat him, and then he'd probably just be phased out, and we wouldn't be talking about him the next year. But because his character got so over, and because they did such a good job explaining his backstory and everything, they ended up just keeping him on as a full-time character and continued to use him in the main events. And this feud with The Undertaker would carry on for literal years. Like, they were still having matches against each other like 4 or 5 years later, and it's like, they'd always have a different spin on it. And then they went on
to the tag team run as well on SmackDown and that.
That's right, the Brothers of Destruction. And
I'm not sure if
of course there'd be all sorts of
this year or previous year also, Santana was on the Spanish commentator table.
That's right. That's right. He's lending his voice now to the Spanish commentary team, who of course are going to get their desk obliterated, as is customary. As we see Undertaker in the process of being, we can see Hugo Sabinovich there. We're going just as Undertaker's about to collapse through the table. Yeah, I really like the look of the Undertaker here. I like you can see all his tattoos. He's just got a really badass look about him. Probably my second favorite look after his original debut look. I really big fan of this appearance.
This was a look I first saw when I used to see like the weekly highlight show, and that was on when I was in high school. That was like my era of Undertaker. Whereas my mate, who had known wrestling since earlier and used to read videos and that, he's like, oh, here's how Undertaker used to look, like 92, 93, and his older look and that. And it was only because of him on his home videos, and I think he had a couple of bootleg, dodgy copies of ones from the rental where I got to see the Undertaker in his original costume, because that stuff was just never on TV.
Really cool as well to see this OG version of Kane before they obviously removed his mask and kind of stripped away a lot. I love this costume the best.
So cool. Or every other version they've done. I mean, it's been around long enough, fair enough. Every 4 or 5 years, it's like a superhero thing. It's like, let's do a different costume. That's what they do. Different audience and people don't begrudge it. But every version they did to me was just inferior to his original costume. It's the best version.
I totally agree with that. What I love about this match as well is up until now, The Undertaker was like the badass power guy that you don't want to mess with. But we see throughout this match that anytime he does offense on Kane, Kane's able to get right back up from everything he does. And
it's slightly bigger, slightly heavier, and younger and stronger. And we know from watching like those interview shows with like Big Show and that, Big Show will go like John Cena, Kane, two of the guys that could actually genuinely fucking lift him up.
And it's cool kind of seeing, like, it takes The Undertaker 3 tombstones to finally put him down, which is totally unheard of at the time. Like, I'm sure there'll be young people watching this now be like, oh, well, that's just the way it is. Like, no, it was not the way it was back then.
No, it was like one finisher and you were done, and this was the big bad guy, but now he's fighting a monster that's better than him.
Exactly. Like, it really puts over, I think, to the live crowd and to the viewing audience that, holy shit, this Kane guy is really powerful, to the point where I'm pretty sure that even when Undertaker wins the match, Kane is like right back up again. Like there's no kind of time of him like lying there like, oh no, I've been defeated.
And it also helps someone being the brother, because remember how Undertaker sometimes will be just lying down and all of a sudden he's just up like that, like a corpse, or like sitting up like out of a corpse or a zombie. It kind of really sold that he's his brother, because no one else could do that kind of stuff. But now Kane, all of a sudden, here's this crazy recovery where he could get up again.
I also like the fact that Kane's moveset mirrors the Undertaker's. He does tombstones, he does choke slams, he does the flying clothesline, he does all of Undertaker's signature moves, which is a really nice touch that they actually went and did that. He's not just like your lumbering big man, or he's not just still doing the same moveset he was doing as like fake Diesel. He's actually mimicking the Undertaker's style and kind of having like a mirror match with him almost.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Captain America, Red Skull, or Spider-Man fighting another evil Spider-Man like a Venom or a Carnage. And
I think it was clearly a hit on the night because, like I said, they're going to go on to feud for years. They'll be attached to each other in some way pretty much for the rest of their careers, whether they're as enemies, as tag team partners, or whatever.
Kane and X-PAC.
Kane and X-PAC's going to come along, It's story for a different time. But yeah, it's all looking roses for Kane here. And this will be long before he becomes the mayor of fucking Knox County, Tennessee, whatever the fuck he does these days,
Yeah, it's funny because he's like he plays this big villain guy, and you see like the real life guy is the most sweet hokum. Oh gosh, gee, kind of Ned Flanders sort of dude.
Yeah, an epic story. And speaking of epic stories, we got the toughest SOB facing down with the baddest man on the planet here. Build up to this match. The main event is spectacular. Of course, the WWF made a big song and dance of bringing Tyson in, and when they bring him in first, it's very vague what his role is going to be. It's like, oh, Mike Tyson is going to appear at WrestleMania. They don't really go into much detail about what's going to happen. But after we get this initial kind of face-to-face showdown between him and Austin, you just, it's really like electric, and you don't know what way it's going to go. It's like, is Austin going to fight Tyson, and what's going to happen here? And then, of course, later on, it's revealed that Tyson is supposedly in cahoots with D-Generation X, so he's kind of in bed with Triple H and Shawn Michaels.
He's like hanging out with them, he's wearing their shirts, and
he even gets the DX entrance for this pay-per-view. Fun fact, the music that he comes out to is the music that they will later recycle for X-PAC's theme, because he will debut the day after this show, so they'll reuse that music. Is that Jim Johnston I see there on the guitar behind Michaels? I think it is. So Jim Johnston's there performing with the DX band. I love this entrance. I love this. I actually have this exact version of Shawn Michaels, the action figure of him, his attire he wears for this event. Love the way that he's taken his traditional Heartbreak Kid tights, but just put black X's over all the hearts. That's a really nice touch on his ring attire. And I have to say, for a couple of years, I used to kind of get almost a little bit teary-eyed watching this match, because I know Shawn Michaels is a bit of a shithead in real life, but I always enjoyed watching his matches and was kind of a fan of his. And at the time this match went down, as far as I believed and as far as everybody else believed, this was going to be like Shawn Michaels' last match ever. We thought his back was broken pretty much. And there's something about, I don't know if you kind of, I know you watched this event like a couple of times recently.
Yeah, I watched it twice in a row last week. Because it was actually after our show the other week. I thought, what am I going to watch now? I'll move to more wrestling. I'll just watch the next WrestleMania prepare for this week. Got to the end of it, and that was really fun. I'm just going to start over again and watch it twice.
Like when you read about, so this is essentially, it's the man with the bad back versus the man with the bad neck in this match. So you're kind of thinking like, there's no way that these two could possibly have a good match. And yet the two of them go out there. It's crazy how good a match they manage to have when they're both so knackered physically. Now, obviously, like Austin is not as knackered as he would become. He has already suffered that neck injury from the botched Owen Hart pile driver late the previous year, I should say. And Michaels has suffered a fairly debilitating back injury from taking a weird looking bump off a casket in the match he had.
That was the Undertaker casket,
Royal Rumble. That's right. And
genuine injury, not that my knees sore and I don't want to fight Bret Hart on injury.
Oh, it's a genuine. You can tell. Look at the expression on Shawn Michaels' face in this picture. Bear in mind,
I remember the back one was genuine.
He's not doing all his usual like, look at me, I'm Mr. Sexy Boy. He actually looks like he's in pain the entire time he's walking out to the ring. Anytime he takes a back bump during this match, you can see on his face, it's just like, man, I am in real fucking pain here. Like, that's why it's like, it's almost a miracle that this match comes off as well as it does when you consider that his back is literally in bits. Like he's got literal pieces floating around his spine that are like hitting off his nerves and stuff. Like it's
he's damn lucky that he was able to get through it and not be, way worse off, and then semi-retire and have some years away to, recover in that before doing some other victory lap matches.
There was speculation right up until the night of this match as to whether or not he'd even be able to wrestle, because they actually had to remove him from the previous month's pay-per-view main event. He was originally supposed to be in an 8-man tag match at the No Way Out pay-per-view, and they actually had to take him out and substitute Savio Vega into the match instead, because Michael's back was in such bad condition that they just didn't think. Now, and that's saying a lot, that he couldn't even manage to do an 8-man tag, and now they're expecting him to go and do like this singles match. So there was also another aspect apart from the injury. Shawn Michaels was famous for not wanting to lose matches and not wanting to lose belts cleanly to people. And there was a bit of talk apparently backstage that he wasn't going to go out and do the job for Austin. And apparently when The Undertaker got wind of this, he kind of went up to Michaels backstage and was more or less like, you better go out there and do the right thing tonight, because if you don't, I'm going to be here waiting for you when you get backstage. And he literally started like taping up his knuckles in front of him. So Michaels, he wasn't going to get out of this.
You got to remember, like this, all the stories about the whole Bret Hart and Canada bloody thing. Taker was pissed off about that back then too, and he was one of the ones that's like, "Hey, what happened out here?" And
yeah, Taker, he takes these things quite seriously, and whatever about it, like he's an old man now, but back then I think if anybody was threatened by a in their prime Undertaker, I'm pretty sure they'd take it seriously. I love this shot here. What's happening? It's just, yeah, every time, like I even wince now when I rewatch this match. Every time Michaels lands on his back, I'm just like, oh man. Even the most tamest looking bump, I'm kind of like, dude, like that, like, how are you doing this? Like, how are you going? And as I was mentioning,
bad knees as well. He's always got those damn braces on.
Got the bad knees. He's got the bad neck. I had mentioned there when you stepped out briefly that he had injured his neck with that botched Owen Hart pile driver the year before. So it's not like he's in perfect condition himself. But this is it. Like, the time is now. This is the night they chose to really light the match. And by God, it was the perfect night to do it, because when Austin hits that stunner and when Tyson counts the 3, like, to say that the roof blows off this building would be an understatement. Like, I mean, the crowd go fucking wild when that 3 count hits. And there's also, apart from the fact that Austin has won the belt, which is obviously a massive, massive deal, another big deal is the fact that supposedly Tyson was not really in cahoots with the X. Tyson was playing a bit of a double agent here, because after the match, Austin hands Tyson an Austin 316 t-shirt, which Tyson proudly waves above his head, before laying it over the fallen Shawn Michaels. So it's a big, big moment, a massive moment for Austin. And this is a true torch passing moment, because Michaels now, he's history. He's gone. We're not going to see him wrestle in the ring until 2002. That's when he's going to be fit enough to get back into the ring. It's now all about Austin. Austin is going to be leading this company into the future as the top guy, the main guy. He's already selling a shitload of t-shirts. Those numbers are only going to go up, up, up. And he's going to go on to have multiple WWF championship reigns. They're all going to be massive box office successes. He's going to go down in history as one of the biggest stars in the industry ever. And even though we mentioned, there was that promo with the 96 King of the Ring, which kind of started the journey. Then there was the match with Bret the year before, which kind of cemented him as a top tier player. But this is the match and this is the finish right here that puts him on a top tier level and keeps him there. Yeah. Once he has that belt around his waist, he is forever one of the guys and one of the main guys. And it pretty much secures his spot as like one of the tippy top guys ever, not just in WWF, but in all of wrestling. And this is the same guy, stunning Steve Austin, who Eric Bischoff didn't really see a future in, who just thought he was just a mid-card heel and you'll never get much more out of him than that. Well, look at him now, Eric Bischoff. Look at what he became and look at what you let go. Crazy times. Just crazy times. And, it's not like a 5-star classic match or anything like that. Like, there's a lot of brawling and shenanigans going on. But once again, if you're looking at it with a critical eye, you just always have to remember Michael's back and Austin's neck. Anytime you're kind of going, oh, well, that wasn't that stiff or hard. It's like, these guys are just taking a risk just by fucking moving around.
The shades of Never mind. Mania 3 with fucking Andre and his fucked up back and all that. And
yeah. And they're trying to use as much smoke and mirrors as possible to hide the fact that one guy is like practically crippled, almost, and as the story goes, and you can actually kind of see footage of it in some WWE documentaries, like Michaels, he was having his troubles, he was heavily addicted to drugs at this point, and he left the arena that night in a bad way. You can even see kind of fan footage of him like kicking open doors and just leaving with his bag of gear. And as far as we know, or as far as we knew, we wouldn't be seeing him again anytime soon. And when he would return, he'd return as like a commissioner, or it would not be in a in-ring capacity. We felt that his career was finished at the time, and it truly is the end of one era and the beginning of another. And by the time the buy rate for this one comes in, I think it did something like 3 times the buy rate of the previous year's Mania. So it was like close to like 800,000 buys. And the event itself on the night drew like $1 million more, like on the gate, like ticket sales and stuff. So it was a crazy, when you take that, if you count that like in 1998 money, this event made insane money. And it started like a trend of just their pay-per-views blowing up, because, this same year, going to get a massive buy rate for SummerSlam, going to get a massive buy rate for Survivor Series. Going into 1999 then, those numbers are just going to keep going up, up, up. And with Austin on top, they're selling out arenas everywhere. They're selling merchandise like by the bucket load. And you just get this perfect combination of things, because with the exit of Michaels, we get a new version of DX. So the night after this event, Triple H, he's going to come out on Monday Night Raw. He's kind of going to put a heel promo on Michaels and talk about how Michaels let the side down and how Michaels should never have trusted Mike Tyson. And during that promo, he's going to introduce Shawn Michaels' replacement in DX. And that replacement is my man, my guy, my favorite dude. X-PAC is going to make his re-debut for the Federation. He's going to come out. He's going to cut a scathing promo on Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan. He's pretty much going to call Eric Bischoff a piece of shit. He's going to tell Hulk Hogan that he sucks. He's going to cut this great shoot promo. And then later on that same night, there is a rematch between Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie and the New Age Outlaws. Finally see who the tag team champions are going to be. And during that match, Triple H and X-PAC run out and they interfere on behalf of the New Age Outlaws. And they officially then welcome the New Age Outlaws into DX. So now, not only do we have a brand new single star in Steve Austin, we also have a brand new babyface youth faction with DX, because Michaels is gone. So it's now all the new guys. It's Triple H, it's X-PAC and the New Age Outlaws and China. They quickly become fan favorites. And they all start selling a shitload of t-shirts. So apart from the great ratings and the great attendance figures, the WWF are just raking in money from Austin 316 and DX t-shirts for like the next 2 years, pretty much.
School teachers around America were so happy to have all the NWO and DX shirts, and kids going, suck it, not even know what it meant.
Oh, delighted.
School teachers were so happy.
I'm sure. And this is the year that we'll kind of see that maybe the NWO t-shirt is just all of a sudden not as cool as it once was, and I want to get one of those shiny new Austin or DX t-shirts, Yeah. Still the same basic premise. It's a black t-shirt with a white logo. It's the same deal. And I remember that t-shirt that Tyson is wearing now. I remember getting mine back in 1998. Still have it somewhere in the house. I think it's been all like bagged up and put away somewhere. But yeah, I was a big fan of the old DX logo t-shirt from back in the day. And I have to say, like, this is it's one of my favorite manias overall. And
yeah,
even though there's, like I said, there's no like outright classic match on it, but that doesn't matter. It's not really about an individual match.
And I think, like,
no bad
compared to last year's, the whole thing just flows together so well. The commentary is great. Everything just kind of just gels and makes sense, and the whole production of it is just awesome.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. There's such an energy to it that just can't be matched.
It's like some of the early ones, the early ones that you watch and go, man, this is just awesome. And then you get a few duds and ones where you're like, I haven't quite got the mojo. It's like Dr. Evil steals Austin's mojo, but then he gets back again. It's like they got the mojo back again on this one.
Oh, big time. And they got the mojo back. They got the money back. I'm pretty sure the last time a Mania did this well was like number 8. So we have to go all the way back to like the early 90s before we got a decent buy rate like this. So no, this is the company. They're firing on all cylinders. They're ready to enter this new era and go to war with WCW. And 1998 is going to be the year that they turn things around and take the fight to Turner and Eric Bischoff, and with Austin and DX leading the charge. And then later on in the year when Rock makes his main event ascension, the sky's the limit and there's no looking back after this.
Yeah, it was a really, really memorable time. And then when you go on to have all these awesome matches, like Rock and Stone Cold have a bunch of classic matches. We get Rock and Mankind have a bunch of awesome matches, and then we get stuff where it's a mix of Kane or Undertaker or Mankind, Rock, Austin, and then usually Hunter in there somewhere doing some great matches, some hardcore ones like Hunter and Mankind, and like in every variation of those mixes for like several years.
Yeah, they got to a point where they have so many potential main eventers that they can choose from. They can just keep putting on these fresh matches. Yeah. And in contrast to that, we
like, WCW together. They're all popular because you get them in the ring at the same time.
I know they always talked about the new generation era, but this is really their new generation era, if they're being honest. Like, because it's all about youth, it's all about new stars. Whereas WCW, everybody's starting to get old. Hogan and Flair, they're not looking as spry as they used to be, and it's just like a night and day contrast compared to what's going on down south. So. No, this is a real banner event for the Federation and just a big time, coming out party and return to form for Vince and his crew. Mega show, mega event. Love it.
Awesome Mania. And it's so random. I remember this week, it was actually the first one I ever got to see back then on the video rental after the kind of ho-hum of 13, which was entertaining but not great. So the next scheduled show we have is a Wrestle Toy Mania 4, showing off some more action figures. However, depending on the schedule of Mr. Epic Badger, the next week or two, we might be getting a visit from him talking about some video games. So we'll see when he's available. I'll check in with him during the week.
Yeah, doesn't matter which one you get. You'll get a treat either way. You've always something to look forward to on the Boba Joe show. But yeah, no, I had a great time as always chatting with Johnny about this Mania. Like I said, one of my favorites. And yeah, whatever happens next week, whether that be our action figures, our wrestling toy talk, or our Epic Badger collaboration, we shall see what happens. And
it's always a highlight, Badger. It gets time to hang out and
once the when the time zones line up and we can get the trio together, that's when the magic happens,
Yep.
But let us know as well, folks, were you right in the middle of this show when it came out back in the day, or are you a newer fan who's only kind of finding out about it in recent years?
People off.
Yeah, were you really kind of negatively impacted, and was Stone Cold a bad role model? Were you telling your teachers?
Actually, I had that shirt. I had the shirt. It was my first wrestling shirt. It had on the back it has because Stone Cold said so, and on the front it literally had him flipping the double birds like this. I had the black shirt for that. It's the first wrestling shirt I ever bought.
My favorite Austin shirt. Now I've never owned it, but my favorite one is the one where it's him on the front doing this, but his arms are snakes.
Yeah,
he's got two snakes wrong.
That's cool.
Always loved that one. But yeah, no, looking forward to the next week, whatever that may be. And let us know, folks. Let us know what you thought about Mania 14 and your memories of the time. And until then, hope you're all keeping well and staying safe. And saying your prayers and eating your vitamins and drinking your Austin beer and all that other good stuff. Crotch chops galore. DX rated.
Slaughter, splatter, spittle guards, and stay safe till next week.
And if you ain't down with that, we got 2 words for you. Watch it.
Watch it.